Hey everybody, I tell you guys every video how much I love doing these trucking stories, and it's true, I do. What I hate is when the company has a horrible ending, and this one has a very recent, a lot of people are feeling in their hearts right now. Unfortunately, like so many other companies, this company went down at the hands of the Yellow Corporation. But we're going to talk about its very awesome history and even a pretty awesome twist with how the owners built their house in 1941. So the company I'm talking about is Holland Motor Express. All right, guys. So once again, I love doing these stories, and this one was a great story too. They're all great stories. You know, they all involve, almost all of them involve great families that did great things to start in the trucking industry years ago. A lot of them around Great Depression time, just like this one. Unfortunately, this is yet another one. It's going to go into the playlist of companies ruined by the Yellow Corporation. But that's another subject. Let's talk about the good stuff first. And like I always say, I got my notes here. I don't memorize all this. Got some really good research on this company. So Holland Motor Express was started in Holland, Michigan in 1929 by John and Catherine Cooper. And their business struggled for a number of years until the Motor Carrier Act of 1935 went into place. So we talk about deregulation in 1980. Regulation was 1935. So from 1935 to 1980, that's where the regulation was in effect. And here's why they survived so well. When the act went into effect, so basically when the act went into effect, the more it's government stuff. I'm studying up on it, trying to know exactly what it was, how companies did everything before I do a story on this. But when it went into effect, you had to prove that you had work in these lanes. Well, when it first went into effect, the companies that already had these lanes were pretty much automatically guaranteed them lanes. And here's the lanes that Holland had built between 1929 and 1935 when this went into effect. They were already running between the cities of Holland, and you got a picture, this is just all over. They were running between all of these cities. Holland, Grand Haven, Michigan, Grand Rapids, Michigan, Benton Harbor, Michigan, Kalamazoo, is in Michigan, right? I don't know. Michigan City, Gary, Indiana, East Chicago, Hammond, Indiana, Whiting, Calumet City, I think that's what it's called, and Chicago. They also went between Indianapolis, Kokomo. Can you say the word Kokomo without a Beach Boys song coming into your head? Anyway, South Bend, Indiana, Plymouth, and Fort Wayne. So this meant that they were automatically granted the certificates for those lanes. Basically, that was their authority. So this helped them tremendously. The company's hurting overall, and they get all these lanes. By 1940, their son, Charles, had joined the family business. By the way, their kids, their three children, started in the wash bay. And I hear a lot of these stories about how kids start in the wash bay. I believe it was Dick Simon had a story like that. Yeah, just kids start in the wash bay. And it seems to me that that's how you become not a Dougie Peel sticker. If you don't know who Dougie Peel sticker is, check this story out here about Arrow Trucking. But that's a different story. Anyway, but yeah, 1940, their son Charles joined the family business. And they remodeled an old canning factory that they bought. And basically they removed the second factory of it. Second floor of it, so that it allowed them more room. Here's what I originally said was the pretty cool story about this, and I'll show you a good bit of pictures here. When they remodeled their building, so they got rid of a whole floor, they repurposed the bricks. I don't know if people today would think about doing that or even make a consideration, but you have to remember, these were Depression people. Depression people wasted nothing. They learned how to save everything because the Depression was such a horrible time. But what it resulted in is amazing. So they repurposed the bricks, and when they remodeled their building, they repurposed the bricks and built their house. at 583 Elmdale Court in Holland. The house is a beautiful 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,469 square foot house. Now, right now it is. And you're seeing all these pictures. Obviously, the back had a big addition built on at some point. I don't know if that included one of the bathrooms. But look at the beautiful brick that is on this house. I mean, just think about it. You know, the house was built in 1941, so now it's 3 years old now. But that brick is way older than that. I mean, this was from a redone, a redone factory. And yeah, just absolutely. It's an absolutely stunning, and knowing where that beautiful brick finish comes from just makes the house that much better. The house was last sold in October of 2018 for $460,000, and its current zestimate, which we know zestimates aren't always right, but the current zestimate is $583,000. Man, what a beautiful house! I love it. Not only can I not afford it, but I have no desire to live in Holland, Michigan. But still, if I could afford it and wanted to live there, I think I'd be looking at this house because it is incredible. By the way, I only showed you so many pictures, but I gave you the address. Let me go back here. 583 Elmdale Court, Holland, Michigan. If you look it up, Zillow has about 40 pictures of it, and the inside. I showed you some of the inside pictures, including the bathroom that has some of that exposed brick. But the house is stunning, absolutely stunning. But anyway, as I said, in 1940, their son Robert joined the company, but he soon left to serve in World War II. During the World War, while their son Robert was serving, they had trouble buying new equipment or even parts, just like so many other companies, because of the, there was rationing going on at that time. And despite this, in 1942, they bought Phoenix Motor Freight, and that gave them the lane between Louisville, Kentucky, and Chicago. They also, in the same year, bought Route Transit Lines, which gave them the lane between Cincinnati and Indianapolis. So in 1943, Holland built a terminal at 1900 West 13th Street in Chicago. And when they did that, the drivers joined the American Federation of Labor Teamsters. Somebody let me know. This is the first time I've ever heard this name. I'm assuming, because this was under Jimmy Hoffa, I'm assuming that it is the same thing as the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. I assume that they just changed their name later, but you know what happens when you assume. But the Teamsters under Jimmy Hoffa started organizing to picket Holland Motor Freight. And so John Cooper was frustrated that his company was about to strike while his son Robert was fighting in the Battle of the Bulge. John announced that he was liquidating his company. When he did that, the Teamsters backed off. After this, John Cooper was elected as the president of the Michigan Truckers Association and served for 2 terms. They feel it was his strong stance against the union, although what I read is that he wasn't against the union. He was against union bullying and who was the other guy? I'd have to look back. APA, yeah. APA took a stand against it too, and was able to work successfully for years, and apparently so was John Cooper. But at the same time, their youngest son Gerald started working in the wash bay. All right, so now in 1950, they built a large terminal in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and a new terminal in Holland, Michigan. The home terminal. They also adopted around that same time, I don't know if it was exactly 1950, but they adopted the slogan, "You can't beat the big Dutch fleet." And so in 1952, Gerald, the youngest son, who had started in the wash bay, joined the management team. In 1958, John and Catherine Cooper sold their interest in the company to Charles, Robert, and Gerald, their 3 sons. So, a number of years go by. John and Catherine both passed away in 1975. You know how I love to do these salutes to people who made a change in the industry. So hats off to you, John and Catherine Cooper, for all you did to the industry. And by all means to your sons also, who followed up pretty well. But in 1980, deregulation went into effect. And like so many other companies, Holland struggled with it. But in 1984, Holland was sold to TNT. And they started to expand. In fact, in 10 years, they went from revenues of $100 million to $1 billion. So 10 years, they got a company where the $100 million, or that was getting revenues of $100 million. And in 10 years, they multiplied that by 10. So they climbed an average of $100 million a year. Simple math. That is absolutely incredible. I just think those numbers are incredible. I don't know much about the TNT company. Of course, it's on the list like everything else. I'm going to be doing a story about it. But in 1996, the company changed its name to U.S. Freightways Corp. U.S. Freightways Corporation, and later just USF Corp. But as most of you know, the trucks always had their original names on the side. And I couldn't find any information out about the U.S. Freightways Corp. as far as why they always had the name on the side and were they still separate companies. I will keep digging. I have to believe they were still different companies just from comments I get from people like you who have said they worked for Holland or they worked for Redaway. And all stories I want to do. Also, the other thing I haven't found out is I keep hearing the Holland was part of Yellow when they went out. But was Redaway part of Yellow at the time? And was TNT still around? Because I remember seeing the trucks on the side would say USF Holland, USF Redaway, USF Red Star, USF TNT. All the same logos. So I'm going to be looking into it more, but I get better information when I ask questions like that from those of you guys, that were part of these companies. So I really appreciate any info you can tell me about that. Was the USF companies still all separate companies? And did Yellow actually buy all the companies? Did they buy all of USF or did they just buy Holland? Like I said, I'll be looking into it, but I don't have that info yet. So anyway, here's where it all goes south. In 1996, the Grim Reaper of the trucking industry, Yellow, bought them. That's not right. In 2006, I'm sorry about that. I wrote down the wrong info. Anyway, let's repeat that. Here's where it all goes south. In 2006, the Grim Reaper of the trucking industry, Yellow, bought them. And they stayed part of Yellow until Holland became yet another casualty of Yellow when they claimed bankruptcy just 3 months ago, putting countless more drivers out of business from a great company that dates way back. I try to be nice, but this is just such bad management, and so many great people out of work. It's horrible. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hate the ending of that, but I hope you enjoyed hearing about how Holland Motor Express got started. I'll put this video out. A lot of you people have asked me, I'm going to keep doing the trucking videos, trust me, but a lot of people have asked me to do manufacturers, trailer manufacturers, truck manufacturers, and why not? Hey, I'll do it. So, my next story is going to be about the Rolls-Royce of trucks. Now, you guys know I drive a Peterbilt, and probably think that's what I'm going to say, but those of you who know, the Peterbilt might be the Cadillac, but the Rolls-Royce of trucks was the Marmon. And I've already done the research on this. The story is pretty awesome. It involves Indianapolis 500. It involves the very first car in America to have a V8. So they were a car company before they were a truck company. like and subscribe if you like this video, and you'll have a Marmon video here pretty soon. And guys, comment below. I always say this. I love the comments. I read every single one. Sometimes it takes me a little while to respond to them, but I always try to get to all of them. And but I definitely read every one of them. And thanks a lot, guys, for everything. Stand by for the Marmon video. So I'll catch you on that one.